Welcome to this comprehensive guide on training and drills for incident response. This series is designed to help you understand how to prepare your teams for managing critical incidents effectively. Regular exercises and drills are essential to maintaining response readiness and ensuring your team has the skills needed when real incidents occur. Training and drills are critical for several reasons. First, they maintain readiness. When teams practice regularly, they stay prepared for real incidents through muscle memory and familiarity with procedures. Second, training improves response speed. By drilling procedures repeatedly, teams develop automatic reflexes, which reduces the time needed to respond when incidents happen. Third, regular exercises prevent skill decay. Without consistent practice, team members forget critical procedures and lose expertise. Finally, training builds team cohesion. When teams work together through drills, they develop trust and communication patterns that are essential for effective crisis management. There are three main types of training exercises. The first is tabletop exercises. These are low-pressure discussions where teams walk through scenarios without activating actual systems. They are great for introducing new concepts or reviewing procedures. The second type is simulations. These are realistic mock incidents executed in controlled test environments with a limited blast radius. They allow teams to practice with realistic tools and systems in a safer setting. The third type is full-scale drills. These are end-to-end exercises that activate complete incident response procedures in production-like conditions. They provide the most realistic training experience, but require careful planning. Let's compare these three exercise types across key dimensions. Tabletop exercises have minimal risk and are typically conducted quarterly, lasting 1 to 2 hours. They require the least resources and preparation. Simulations have low risk and are typically done twice a year, lasting 4 to 6 hours. They provide more realistic practice than tabletops, but with controlled environments. Full-scale drills have controlled risk and are typically conducted annually, lasting 8 or more hours. They provide the most comprehensive training and require the most planning and coordination. Choose the type that matches your organization's maturity level and training objectives. Planning a successful drill requires clear preparation. First, define your objectives. Specify which skills or procedures you want to practice, identify which teams and roles will participate, and establish success criteria and metrics to evaluate your results. Second, schedule and communicate. Coordinate with all stakeholders well in advance to ensure availability. Allow adequate preparation time for participants so they understand what to expect. And set realistic expectations for the exercise so participants understand that mistakes are learning opportunities, not failures. During the actual execution, inject realistic scenarios with controlled escalation. Start with a straightforward incident and gradually introduce complications to test how teams adapt. Observe team interactions and decision-making processes. Pay attention to how information flows, how decisions are made, and how roles interact. Document issues, gaps, and areas of excellence as they occur. As a facilitator, keep participants focused without being intrusive. Introduce complications to test adaptability, and maintain a safe environment for learning, where people feel comfortable admitting mistakes and learning from them. After the drill concludes, conduct a structured after-action review or AAR with all participants. Discuss what went well and what needs improvement, focusing on learning rather than blame. Create a blameless culture where people feel safe sharing what happened. Document your findings and recommendations in detail so you have a record of what you learned. Assign ownership for improvement actions so that someone is responsible for making changes. Track remediation progress until each action is completed. This follow-up is critical because recommendations that are never implemented provide no value. To evaluate the effectiveness of your drills, measure response metrics and quality metrics. Response metrics include detection time improvement, escalation speed, mean time to recovery or MTTR reduction, and communication timing. These tell you if your team is responding faster. Quality metrics include procedure adherence, decision accuracy, team coordination, and documentation completeness. These tell you if your team is responding correctly. Track these metrics over multiple drills to see if you are making progress toward your goals. Training and drills are not one-time events. They are part of a continuous improvement cycle. After each drill, use the lessons learned to update procedures, playbooks, and training materials. Each exercise should be progressively more complex, challenging teams to develop deeper competencies. Regular, consistent training maintains response capabilities and prevents skill degradation over time. Monitor your organization's incident response maturity and adjust training frequency and complexity accordingly. By treating drills as an ongoing practice, you build a culture of preparedness and continuous improvement in your incident response program.
If you like this video, hit that like button and don't forget to subscribe. Visit codelucky.com for more such useful content.